Hello, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Nightly Scroll. I'm Haley Karania. Quick reminder to make sure you're following and subscribed on your favorite podcast platform. So whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, make sure you're either following. Also follow on the Bongino Report Rumble channel. That's where you can find me and Evita. Make sure that you're watching. Rumble.com/Haley will also bring you there. But I'm very grateful to everyone in the live chat, 6 p.m. Eastern time on a Friday. Thank you for being here. I'm very excited. We've got a big show. Law enforcement officers are actually enforcing the law again. Imagine that. And California Governor Gavin Newsom is a chameleon on social issues that matter most to his far-left constituents. What is he plotting? We will get into it. Plus, Disney's woke Snow White hits theaters today, and I am calling out all the hypocrisy. All that and more on Nightly Scroll. Thank goodness we have actual law enforcement officers in charge of law enforcement agencies now. Attorney General Pam Bondi has announced charges against individuals participating in domestic terrorism against Tesla properties. Thankfully, I've been covering these stories all week. Absolute maniacs throwing Molotov cocktails and fire bombs and lighting themselves on fire at Tesla charging stations and dealerships across the nation. This is domestic terrorism. We have an administration in office right now that is calling it like they see it. They're telling it like it is, and they're actually putting people behind bars that need to be behind bars. 3 individuals who threw Molotov cocktails have been charged with domestic terrorism, each one of them facing 5 to 20 years in prison. One of them being the one in South Carolina, like I said, who set himself on fire in this whole debacle, trying to set the cars on fire. And, you know, the one who spray painted the Nazi cars. These people are facing 5 to 20 years in prison. Thank goodness. That's not all. Our deputy FBI director, Dan Bongino, ever heard of him? He posted this on X saying, "Communication and transparency are my priorities. We work with you, or for you, the American people. Our teams are actively working on the Tesla incidents and the swatting incidents, along with our other responsibilities to keep the homeland safe. Thank you." Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, the FBI Director, Kash Patel, and now DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, also making it known that this is a priority of hers, these swatting incidents. Conservatives have been swatted. This is where people send in prank law enforcement calls, it's an absolute disgusting waste of law enforcement effort and resources. These are fake calls where people will call law enforcement and say, so-and-so has done some crime, there's drugs or a murder or whatever it is. Law enforcement descends on that person's home. And again, someone could get hurt. Like this is serious. And this is another form of domestic terrorism that thankfully the DHS secretary is now working on. FBI director Kash Patel is working on. Deputy director Dan Bongino is working on. And thank goodness. But I don't care who you are or who you voted for. Nobody deserves to be swatted. And I have to make this extremely clear. We condemn this on all fronts. Popular Democrat influencer Chris Mowry, he's friends with fellow Democrat influencer Harry Sisson. Chris Mowry was swatted. Someone had called in saying he'd stabbed his girlfriend. This is what he posted on X. He said, essentially, someone contacted the Atlanta Police Department falsely claiming that I had stabbed my girlfriend and was waiting for police to arrive. This information was then forwarded to the appropriate police department, which responded by coming to my house. He said, thank God no one was home at the time. Officers found an unlocked back door and entered, still waiting to receive a phone call and email that was originally given to the Atlanta PD. I'm a little unclear about whether the accusation was made in writing or over the phone. Everyone's safe, and he appreciates the support. I will say I saw a lot of conservatives who are being swatted as well reach out and say, this is domestic terrorism. This is horrible. It doesn't matter who it happens to. We need to hold these people accountable. It's not a prank. It's horrible. So I'm very glad to see that we have law enforcement agents actually doing what they're supposed to do. But Democrats are still confused as to why conservatives are still supporting Trump. I don't know why. all the things that I had just listed in the beginning of the show here, where law enforcement's doing their job, they're cleaning up the southern border. This is exactly what we voted for. This is the get ish done administration. They're getting ish done at record speeds, and we love to see it. But Jasmine Crockett, who's a rising star in the Democrat Party, she posted this on X. She said, "Honest question for those not in the cult. What do you think it will take for them to finally admit that he's ruining the country and put pressure on Republicans to turn their backs on him and finally hold him accountable?" She's talking about Trump supporters as the people being in this so-called cult, and talking about Trump, of course, President Trump, who's apparently ruining the country. I don't see how he's ruining the country. He's doing exactly what I wanted him to do. He's promises made, promises kept. This is exactly what he told everyone that he was going to be doing on the campaign trail, and he's following through on those promises. Whether it's him writing executive orders, whether it's the smart and incredible patriots that he has around him in his cabinet, we are finally seeing the American dream be back. It's protected. We're safe again. They're making America great again. No regrets. Here's another Democrat who just does not get it. Ana Navarro. She's on CNN. She always likes to say, her little caveat is, "I used to be a Republican." So this is coming from someone who used to be a Republican, does not get why Republicans don't like Trump and are not having regrets. Watch.
Police departments in South Florida are signing cooperation agreements to be deputized as ICE. When we, I keep thinking, okay,
this is going to be
this is going to change the way folks, they're gleeful. Everybody I know who voted for Trump is gleeful and supportive of everything he's doing.
Yes, we are. And why wouldn't we be? Trump ran on a strong, secure southern border. And we just saw in the last 4 years what happens when you don't have that, which is migrants run amok. They're given free flights to whatever blue sanctuary city they want. They're given free phones. They're giving all these free resources on the taxpayer's dime, of course. So, yeah, I don't see why, anyone would be against local law enforcement in Florida assisting ICE in deportations. This is exactly what we voted for. I don't really understand why they don't get it. But being a conservative in this country is so great that even Gavin Newsom has been trying to be a part of it, cosplaying as a conservative. But before he had this change of heart, which is a total lie, by the way, he used to champion trans issues for kids. I just want to bring you back, and this isn't far back in time, mind you. This is just this summer, okay? This is back in July, so less than a year ago. California bans school rules requiring parents' notification of child pronoun change. So Gavin Newsom signed on to this. California allows parents to be completely in the dark. If a child is in school, is in a public school, they can, change their name and change their pronouns. They can switch their gender. All the adults in the school, they're not the adults in the room. Of course, they allow children to run amok. They allow children to, it's the insane people are running the asylum. Like, children are in charge and the adults are letting them affirm all of their delusions. So kids can come into school and Sally can say, "I'm Billy today." And the teachers will have to say, "That's cool." And then they don't tell the parents. Okay, so I just want to let you know where Gavin Newsom stood on trans issues with children just not even a year ago. But he went back on that claim on his own podcast. He had Charlie Kirk on the show. It was a curious break from his usual stance. They talked about trans women in women's sports, so men in women's sports, and all of a sudden he thinks it's crazy and deeply unfair. Listen.
So you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, right. that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out say no.
No, and I appreciate
but would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
Okay, so this is a complete departure from where he was less than a year ago, where, of course, he has an agenda. right? Gavin Newsom is a chameleon. He's a political chameleon. He's going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. And he's positioning himself, in my opinion, to be a front runner in 2028. He is telling conservatives what they want to hear. And it's really not hard for Gavin Newsom to take this stance because it's a very popular stance, by the way. The majority of Americans would agree that men should not compete against women in women's sports. Men shouldn't be allowed in women's locker rooms and in women's bathrooms and spaces because that's dumb. So Gavin Newsom, he's not doing this high and mighty thing. He's really doing he's saying what most people already feel. And he might be pissing off the LGBTQ and far left factions in California, but I think he has his sights set on not just governing California, but governing America. So, of course, he has to depart from the crazies because the rest of the country the pendulum has swung and people are coming closer to the middle on a lot of issues. And this is a very common sense issue. So Gavin Newsom is doing the chameleon thing. I promise you he's setting himself up for a run in 2028. But it's not only that. He used to be a champion of the term Latinx to refer to the Latin community. Totally stupid, but Latinx instead of Latino or Latina, because you know that there are people in this society who don't identify as either male nor female. And of course, he has to cater to this retarded faction of California because this is who voted for him to be in office. But now, in this same interview on his podcast with Charlie Kirk again got him to admit this departure from where he stood in the past. And even CNN has clocked this change and they came with receipts. So watch this.
So let's talk about the word Latinx. Just 2 weeks ago, here's what he said about it.
By the way, not one person ever in my office has ever used the word Latinx.
So can we finally put that to bed?
Yeah,
we agree.
But where did that even
No
come?
more Latinx, everybody.
Well, I just didn't even know where it came from. I'm like, what are people talking about?
But there was a person who used Latinx. It was actually a really important person. It was him.
Right? Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's right. And look, these aren't minor shifts. These are progressive issues that Gavin Newsom used to champion until fairly recently. And now he's not just walking away from them. He's sort of acting like they were never legitimate with that clip talking about Latinx in the first place. But let's take Latinx. We did find somebody who used it repeatedly in his office. Let's take a listen to this.
I hope we can really paint a picture in terms of our consciousness of how impactful this has been on the Latinx community. Latinx community, the Latinx and Black communities. You've got politicians that are banning not assault rifles, but the word Latinx. They're not even serious.
It's not even serious to ban the word Latinx. He's calling conservatives banning the word Latinx not serious. Now he's saying that the term Latinx was never serious. He's agreeing with those conservatives who think it's stupid. Again, he's lying to your face. He's switching codes. He's like totally code switching here. He's like abandoning the far left and he's trying to come to the middle here to work with conservatives. He wants conservatives to be fooled, by the way. He wants you to think that he's this common sense moderate. He is not. Okay, so don't fall for it. But in other woke news, Snow White is in theaters today. This is a totally botched woke remake by Disney, and it hits theaters today. It's woke because it all started with the lead actress, Rachel Zegler. You know, normally red carpet appearances and press junkets are opportunities to sell the American public on your project. You want to be, well-liked on the red carpet. You want people to go buy tickets. And for whatever reason, Rachel Zegler, who's starring as Snow White, she did the opposite. Watch this.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
People don't want Snow White as president. They want her to be this damsel in distress. Everyone the whole purpose of watching fairy tales is because they're love stories. And you can have Disney princesses who are strong, and I think a lot of the more modern ones are like Moana and Elsa and Anna, and some of the newer ones in Moana and Frozen. I think a lot of these princesses have some strength to them. They have a little oomph. They're not just the damsel in distress. But it seems like they are completely, Rachel Zegler, she's saying, this is not the fairy tale that you know and love. We're turning it into something totally different. This is not going to be a man and woman falling in love, because that's blasphemous these days. We don't see that anymore. We can't just have a woman be reliant on a strong man. That would be horrible. We don't want little girls to see that. No. So they're completely moving away from that, and they're going in this woke direction. But not only that, Disney came under fire for none other than diversity, equity, and inclusion. It bit them in the butt. This is where DEI backfires. So in recent years, Hollywood has this obsession with casting actors and actresses who are the same race and or color as the character. And anytime a white actor or actress is cast to play anything but a white person, all hell breaks loose. They get up on arms. The media is going crazy. This happened recently with Bradley Cooper. He got hate for playing Leonard Bernstein in Maestro because he's a white man and Leonard Bernstein is Jewish. So we're not allowed to do that, apparently. White people can't play other races or ethnicities or anything. But yeah, this is a headline here. Let's discuss Bradley Cooper's racist fake nose for Maestro. He had to have a prosthetic nose put on so that Bradley Cooper, actor, can look like the person he's playing. This is not new, people. Actors have to use prosthetics to look like the person they are playing very often. It's not racist, okay? It's just the business. And if you're in the business of acting, sometimes you have to pretend like you're someone else. That's the entirety of the industry. Okay?
Some might call it acting.
Some might call it, this is how this whole thing works. So if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. And it's not just Bradley Cooper. Gal Gadot, who is also in this reboot of Snow White, by the way, she got hate for being cast as Cleopatra. Gal Gadot is Israeli. She actually fought in the IDF. She's Israeli, and people were saying, well, she can't be cast as Cleopatra. Here's The Guardian. Gal Gadot as Cleopatra is a step backward for Hollywood representation. And this author, Hannah Flint, she said, casting misses the chance to give a North African actor a chance to play Cleopatra. And it turns out that historians say that Cleopatra is actually Greek and Persian. So she wasn't North African either. But, don't check the facts, okay? Hollywood doesn't care about the facts. They care about a woman who looks white and appears white is playing an Egyptian person of color in history. But they're wrong. It doesn't even matter. So here's the hypocrisy, though. People of color can play white characters. That's no problem. So The Little Mermaid, that has been rebooted recently. She's black and she can play Ariel. So they give a black girl the red hair. No big deal, right? I think Netflix did a rendition of some show with Queen Elizabeth, and Queen Elizabeth was black. Okay? So Snow White can be Latina, but God forbid it's the other way around and a white actor plays something else. Pretending's okay, but not if, it just like crosses their wires a little bit in the woke world. They just get like a little confused. But the DEI craziness didn't stop there. You would think that by Hollywood logic, they would want to cast little people as the 7 dwarfs. Nope. Get that crazy thought out of your heads. We don't want little people to play dwarves. So Peter Dinklage, very famous actor with dwarfism, by the way, put a stop to all this, saying it's wrong to cast little people as dwarves because they should be cast as other characters as well. They shouldn't be pigeonholed into these fantasy roles. So the Wrap reporting, Disney assures Peter Dinklage on Snow White reboot, we are taking a different approach to the dwarf characters. And boy, did they take a different approach. They used AI for the dwarves. This may be one of the first American jobs lost to AI thanks to Peter Dinklage. They didn't cast humans at all to play the dwarves. They are literally fake. They are CGI. They are AI. And it's just rich coming from Peter Dinklage because he's one of the most famous actors with dwarfism. He had a very funny role in the movie Elf, where he didn't play an elf, but there is this iconic scene where Will Ferrell, who is an elf, he mistook Peter Dinklage's character for an elf. He's a very angry elf. So obviously that check cashed fine. When he was a little person, an elf, that was fine. When he was one of the biggest stars on Game of Thrones in a fantasy series, that was fine. That check cashed fine. So it's okay for Peter Dinklage to cash in on being a little person, but God forbid anyone else in that community wants to get their shot. And a lot of the little people who are actors are pissed off, and rightfully so, because who died and made Peter Dinklage the king of all actors with dwarfism? It's insane. He absolutely took these opportunities away from actors with dwarfism. It's sick. And what is inclusive about that? So all of the actors with dwarfism who probably would have, just died to have this opportunity to star in Snow White, because these opportunities don't come along very often for actors with dwarfism. And I understand Peter Dinklage's, stance where he's like, little people shouldn't just be cast as little people. But, to take away the opportunity, this could have been one of their big shot. And he totally just, crapped the bed for these other artists and actors in the space. So I think this is a total loss. Now, people who watch this movie, they're not going to see actors. They're going to see CGI or AI versions of elves and dwarves. Peter Bradshaw from The Guardian, this is one of the critics here. He gave the film 1 star. He called it an exhaustingly awful reboot. He describes the costume design for Snow White as a, quote, supermarket retail tweeny outfit with puffy sleeved shoulders. He said otherwise, performers Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot are forced to go through the motions and they give the dullest performance of their lives. Whew, that is not a good review. 1 star. And I do want to say on the topic of reboots, can we just stop? Hollywood, any film that comes out now, it's either a reboot or it's a prequel or it's a sequel. No one in Hollywood, all these starving actors who go on strike, all these writers, they're looking for work. And it's like, go write something then. Damn. Go write something new. Come up with something. Seriously. None of them come up with anything new or exciting or different. It's like, go write something new then. Go write a story that has a black character or Asian character or whatever. You complain about this whitewashing of Hollywood. Go do something about it then. But stop turning white characters and making them some other race. This whole flip-flopping thing is just stupid. So I'm just saying people in Hollywood are lazy as hell. And instead of just complaining, they could just do something about it. So why don't you go do that? But I will say, some people in Hollywood are maybe waking up a little bit. Gwyneth Paltrow is fascinated, apparently, by the Maha movement. She just did a cover for Vanity Fair, and it says, Gwyneth Paltrow on motherhood, Maha, Meghan Markle making out with Timothée Chalamet, and much more. So they did ask her about the Maha movement. It's interesting. The actress, she said a lot of our institutions are really failing us, and that this pervasive, sweeping axiom that Americans feel, consumers shape the markets, and people are starting to vote with their wallet on this stuff. She's speaking about everyone buying healthier. They're getting onto the raw milk trend. They're really, they're reading nutrition labels. They want to make healthier decisions. And she's apparently fascinated by this. She didn't call out RFK Jr. by name, but I think this is indicative of, the Maha movement is something that even the wokest, craziest people in Hollywood and conservatives can come together on. I mean, why wouldn't we be able to come together on being healthy? I think it's crazy. And, some of the things that Gwyneth Paltrow and RFK Jr. agree on, Gwyneth Paltrow talked about the evils of glyphosate. Companies like Monsanto, they spray all of the vegetables with glyphosate, which is this carcinogen. And essentially, it's all over our produce, and we eat it, and it's giving us cancer. It's making us sick. So again, this is something that we can come together on. It's really great. But speaking of food in this country, here's an interesting update here. So DoorDash is one of these, food delivery services. They have an app. You can order food from local restaurants and grocery stores, etc., and someone will bring the food to you. And now Klarna is teaming up with DoorDash, is buy now, pay later, a recession indicator. It's interesting. So now people who order food, so let's say you want to use this app and order pizza. You can now, let's say the pizza's $30. First of all, anytime you order on one of these apps, it is like astronomical, the amount of taxes and tips and other fees. If the pizza's $30, it ends up being $50. I don't know how, the math does not math for me. I don't know how the price always jumps up in $20 for me, $15 to $20. I'm like, what just happened here? Anytime I try to order on one of these apps, I've used Uber Eats, Seamless, DoorDash, Grubhub, all of them. And this one, DoorDash is now teaming up with Klarna, which is like an Afterpay type situation. So people can now order, let's say, a $30 pizza that ends up being $50, but we won't go there. So $30 for the sake of argument. And they can now pay this pizza off in installments. So maybe over 3 months, they can pay $10 a month to pay off this food delivery bill. We have gotten to a very sad place in America. If people are so riddled with credit card debt, we're not moving in the right direction here. This is not good. And we were all talking about this earlier. I don't think that people who are strapped for cash are ordering on these apps because, like I said, the fees are astronomical. Again, they're adding, you've got to tip the driver, the delivery person. They always make the tip that they say is based off of the amount of food. So it's not even like you're tipping on service, really. They encourage you to tip 10, 15, 20% on the price of the pizza, which doesn't make sense. But people are tipping a lot, and then there's fees for everything. So again, if you're strapped for cash, you're not ordering food like this. But this, teaming up with Klarna is going to be bad. They're tapping into a market of people who are not well off financially. They shouldn't be putting food or a meal on Afterpay. And Dave Ramsey, who is the king of economic advice, he responded to a tweet about this on X, and he responded with a GIF, and he just looks absolutely in disbelief. He's like, no, because people call into Dave Ramsey's show for financial advice all the time, and he'll tell people who are in massive amounts of debt, cut up your credit cards. Do not put things on Afterpay. So imagine how Dave Ramsey feels, people putting their pizza or their burrito or whatever on Afterpay. Things are not good. But we are at that time in the show. You know what that time is. It's scrolling time. I'm going to dance every day, I think. I like it. Justin, did you pick out that song? Sort of, kind of. Gee, okay. Gee, I like that song. The first video that I have for you is just very serendipitous. It just makes you feel good. This is where, you know, the crazy left, they hate on people who wear MAGA hats, and sometimes justice is served. So this is going to be a video. This is obviously a leftist crazy person who confronted a man wearing a MAGA hat on the New York City subway, and it didn't go so well. Watch this.
He won because of people like you need to stop it. Let him there.
Bro, just like, bro, chill, bro.
You're okay with that? He's a racist.
I'm okay. How can I be racist?
He's a racist.
Okay with it.
If you fucking voted for Trump, you're a racist. He's a racist.
How can I be racist?
No, he's not racist.
Doesn't watch the news.
You realize
He wants to be highly educated.
Oh, are you? Then why are you wearing that hat?
It's a little hard to hear here, but she's pointing her finger in his face. The man wearing a MAGA hat he looks to be Indian or Asian. The friend with him is Asian. Yep. The liberal woman shaking her finger at the Indian man in the MAGA hat, tries to pull the MAGA hat off of his head, runs after him outside of the subway, and trips and falls. Can we watch her trip and fall just one more time? I think we should just rewatch this part. Let's just speed up. Let's get to the good part. Oh, that's gotta hurt. It's gotta hurt. But that feels good for us to watch, you know? Sorry, like, you deserved it. And she's calling an Indian man racist. She says if you voted for Trump, therefore you are racist. And this is obviously a white woman. So I don't know. That doesn't really make too much sense to me. But here's another one. There's a woman on TikTok. She said Trump is racist for making English the official language. Watch this. It says, he's not a racist. And she replies, so why is he expected to sign an executive order today that would make English the official language of the U.S.? Here's what people in the comments said. Guys, these are liberals in the comments. Guys, you don't get it? America has no official language to be accepting to everyone, even though a majority of the people speak English. So apparently you are not accepting if you have an official language, according to the left. Here's another leftist. He turned the melting pot of the world into a fascist state in under 2 months. These people are unhinged. In what freaking world? Now, there's a little bit of sanity in the comments as well. Someone named Dexter Adams said, all the first world countries have an official language except the USA. So maybe it's about time. Someone named Joshua said, okay, then it's also racist for Canada's official language to be English, Japan's official language to be Japanese, Belarus's official language to be Russian, right? Okay. If other countries have an official language, why shouldn't we? And the majority of people in this country speak English, so I don't know. Makes sense to me. And then someone finally commented, smartest Kamala supporter. I did put out a notice to all the viewers. I said, I would really love to blind react to some videos today. So if you send me in some videos that I haven't seen, I would love to watch them. And, you know, when I see videos that I play on the show, like, for example, the girl who fell with the MAGA hat, I watched that like twice before the show today, and I was almost peeing my pants, like laughing so hard. And then once I see it for the third time, like, it's just not as funny to me. So I do want to implement some blind reactions into the show. So I did post on X. I said, please send me your videos. I'm going to react to them live on the show. So I have not seen any of these. Justin and Michael have seen them, and they've picked them out for me. So if yours didn't get picked, it's okay. We'll do this again. But let's hit it. Let's see what they've got for me. All right, it's a meme. It says, if you've ever wondered what the worst idea ever, this looks like, is that a human dressed as a zebra? Or two humans?
Yes, it is.
Uh-oh. Okay, so this is two humans dressed as a zebra. They're running amongst zebras in what looks like Africa or something like that. And unfortunately, some lions have started attacking the humans. Uh-oh. In the zebra costume. Oh, no. Oh, no. Thankfully, it was just the like mascot head, but one of the lions there at the end took the mascot head and ran away with it. Thankfully, it was the mascot head and not their real head. But yeah, that's something dumb. I wouldn't try to do that. Okay, what is this? A South Park
Also, that
clip?
first one was from Anita McGroin.
Oh, thank you, Anita, for sending in. I appreciate that. All right, who sent this one in?
And at the top of the second half, it's 16-9. Easton leads the scoring with 4.
And that's why she commands $7,000 a year. These gals sure do make it look difficult.
But is having this minor skill worth being so unattractive? That's for the fan to decide.
Yay!
Oh yeah, this is the reality of the WNBA. Okay, being skilled, is it worth being ugly? Well, I won't go there. But yes, there are not too many fans in the WNBA. There aren't very many people in the stands. All the women, they cry about not being paid equally. And it's like, getting paid in the WNBA or in any sport for that matter, it's about eyeballs. Because eyeballs means advertising dollars, and butts in seats means that you get paid for all the tickets that you sell. So if you're not selling tickets and you're not selling ads, you're not making any money. And if the men make more money than you, they're going to get paid more than you. It's just economics 101. But, tell that to them. All right, this is Selena Gomez crying over, I recognize this video. This is when she's crying over deportations. Who is this? This is Trump Barron? Donald Trump Jr., Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, Melania, and who's on the right? I can't see. Pete Hegseth. All right, for people listening to the show and not watching the show, you may remember that Selena Gomez, she was crying over the deportation efforts in this country. She was saying, like, my people are getting deported. Again, I don't know why they, tell on themselves like that. It's like, are you saying that your family and friends are illegal immigrants? Because if so, I would get off the internet and I would, stop saying that if you don't want them to get deported. But it was a video, AI versions of Trump and Kristi Noem and Tom Homan and Melania Trump and Barron Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and Pete Hegseth all dancing in front of Selena Gomez crying. So take that. All right. That was the last video sent in by the viewers. I do have a few questions that I'm going to answer. I told you that. I put them on my Instagram story, so I said that I would answer them. I'm going to answer 3 questions quickly because we're almost at 40 minutes, but I think we'll get to 45 here. Thoughts on the Daily Wire drama? Ooh, I thought you'd never ask. I don't want to get messy here, but I did apply for 2 jobs with the Daily Wire throughout my career. First one just didn't pan out. No hate, no shade. There's just, it didn't work out. Second time, it was a little weird. I was applying for a producer job there. And at the time I was living in New York City and they were requesting that I move to Nashville for the job. But here's the kicker. They wouldn't tell me who I was working for or what I would be doing. I pressed them on this multiple times. I said, I'm not going to be moving across the country if you're not telling me what I'm doing for my job. That's pretty standard, right? I'm not going to get into something that I don't know what I'm getting into. My career is important to me. I'm not just going to sign up to do nothing. I need to know what I'm doing day to day. And they could not answer the question. Then they said, they tried to get me to leave the company that I was working at, not give a 2-week notice and help them and start working for them while I was already working at my current company. I said, no. I said, I'm not not giving a 2-week notice to my current company. Again, I don't want to burn bridges. I'm a great employee. I don't want to, do anything wrong. So I thought that was very strange that they wanted me to kind of like turn my back on the company like that. It wasn't going to be about that. They wanted me to they wouldn't tell me who I was working for or what I was doing, but they said, you have to live in Ohio. Like they were requiring me to move to Nashville and live in Nashville, but then I was going to have to live in Ohio during the week. And I said, well, what am I doing in Ohio? Wouldn't tell me. Then they said, but you'd have to live in Nashville on the weekends. And I was like, well, why? If I'm working during the week in Ohio, why would I need to live in Nashville on the weekends? Weird. They couldn't answer any of these questions. Then, all in all, I didn't take the job because what job? I don't even know what they wanted me to do. And I asked for the address because I wanted to send thank you notes. And they said no. They would not tell me where the office was. Even when I was trying to work for them, I said, hey, where's your office? Just so I can start looking at apartments in the area and see, do I need a car? Do I not? Wouldn't tell me where their office was. Then I went to dinner with a few girls because I ended up moving to Nashville anyway, but I was working for Outkick and Fox News Digital. And when I did get down there, I met other people who worked for the Daily Wire, and they were just as weird and secretive. They make everyone sign NDAs. They were talking in code the whole night about their office space. They wouldn't tell anyone where they were working. Anyway, that's my personal experience with them. I just thought that it was very weird. They were really not forthcoming when it came to information that was pretty pertinent to the job. So for me, I wasn't going to sign up for that. However, I will end on this. I will say I think they put out great content. I enjoy some of their content. I do think losing Candace and Brett Cooper is a massive loss that is really they can't recoup from that. I genuinely believe that's a huge loss. And they have great, they've got great people. Ben Shapiro's great. I love Matt Walsh. I even went to the premiere of Matt Walsh's documentary, Am I Racist? Extremely funny, very well done. Their production quality is very, very high. So for that, I appreciate their content, but it was a little strange. So all the Daily Wire drama, probably, if there's smoke, there's fire, right? So that's my take on that. Someone else asked, will you add anything of your own to Dan's shelf in the studio? And I will. So today is the last day that Vince was coming out of this studio. I haven't totally decided what I'm going to put on there. I'm going to get rid of the books. I want to keep the American flag because that's great. But things that say Bongino on them, even Dan told me you don't need to have the Auburn helmet and you don't need to have the Auburn basketball. So I will probably get rid of those because those mean nothing to me. The Rock'em Sock'em robots, things that are uniquely Dan, that's Dan. So when Dan comes back, we'll put them back, but I am going to put some stuff there. I haven't really decided. My mom lives in Pinehurst. She said she's going to go maybe get a Pinehurst hat or something because I play golf. I don't know. I have a bunch of media credentials from my career that I might put up there, but I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a work in progress. It won't be done on Monday, but we'll start tweaking as we go. And then last question here really quickly, is Dan going to come back to his show when he is done at the FBI? And I will say that is the plan. So thank you all for tuning in. This has been a very fun show. I love the audience engagement. I love blind reacting to the videos, love answering your questions. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Make sure that you're subscribed everywhere to watch this show, and I'll see you right back here on Monday.